Are you looking forward to the
Probably not, based on whatever you're about to say.
the way in which they're not going to play Oso Ighodaro tonight somehow?
Yeah, I forgot he was on the team, which I was really excited about him a while ago, and I don't totally know what's wrong. But yes, Grayson Allen doubtful with left foot soreness.
Yeah, Grayson's had an ailing knee like the last 2 years or so, and now the foot has popped up where like playing back-to-backs for him right now is more of a task for sure. So you just always want to be smart in those types of situations. Like I understand like it's ride or die right now for where the Suns are at in the standings, don't get me wrong. But that's the type of thing where like if you just play him and something goes wrong, he's out for the rest of the year. And like I think the thing that people forget in instances like this with injuries is like those are injuries that can affect you for the rest of your career as well. Like you can be a different type of player going forward if you suffer a severe injury in your foot or in your knee. So you just want to be smart. The Richards thing is surprising though because he's a guy who like plays through a lot. He plays physical. So that's what's that down as right now?
Right ankle soreness.
Okay.
So
the back-to-backs adding up, I think for sure is something that's happening, and like just like the grind that they've sort of been on because the way they've had to, and this is ironic considering what we just talked about, the way they've had to exert themselves.
Don't you think? It's like rain.
you did this, Kellan. You did this, and this is unfair. Kellan took his headset off, so he doesn't even have to hear it. But you did this.
If Aaron says something the rest of the segment, I'm not going to hear it.
Oh,
I'm just
she's
gonna do it
saying some stuff about you right now.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if it's
great.
on the air. All right, so what exactly was?
I don't
I-word?
remember.
Oh.
That's kind of the problem with doing
Really?
that.
Really,
know?
you lost it that easily? If Wolf keeps it together, although he screams.
Well, the thing
lyrics.
about the minutes that they're playing is like Nick is a guy who has been inconsistent in terms of when he's getting the chance to close games. So his minutes have been like in that 20, 30-minute range, somewhere around there, but it's been even lower than that. But the intensity of minutes they're playing is because every single game that they play in, for the most part, is highly competitive, which is not how the schedule goes. Like you are supposed to get blown out quite a bit, but you're also supposed to blow other teams out quite a bit, and that is not what this team does. Like the Dallas game over the weekend, perfect example. Like that should have been a blowout, and it wasn't. And I can't remember exactly the minute totals, but it was at least high 30s for like Durant and Booker. So those types of things add up over time for sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you go through the schedule, I don't know, they've had maybe 5 blowout wins all season, and we're in the middle of March. So this is good with you here today to kind of run through this idea of who do you want back next season, with the caveat that there's a lot of nuance to this conversation. You can't just sit there and be like, well, okay, I want Devin Booker and Kevin Durant back. They're the 2 best players. Well, yeah, okay. But, I mean, you got to kind of look at the reality that they can't trade Bradley Beal, and the way they're set up, they can't really trade much of anything unless they trade somebody big. So I don't know where to me, Kellan, the conversation starts with if you're tearing it down this summer, and a lot of people believe they are, that does sort of seem to be where this is heading. How much are you tearing it down? And is it even worth having a conversation with Bradley Beal of like, look, dude, we're tearing this down. Are you sure that you don't? And that doesn't, by the way, that doesn't guarantee that you can pull off a trade for Beal because you got to get somebody else to take his contract. But he is only signed now, technically, through next year, although somebody has an option on that the following year. Either way, are you going to Bradley Beal?
He has an option, and he is going to accept
so
that
that's
option.
a problem. So really,
as he has
still
said,
2 more years.
the cards, he owns them.
Yes.
They're his.
He bought all the cards.
His agent bought those cards by getting that no trade clause, which is still just miraculous.
Yeah,
how
he
that
should
happened.
win Agent of the Year.
Like people get mad at the Suns for not getting him to waive the no trade clause. Like, no, it's more about getting mad at the agent for somehow mad at the Wizards. What are the Wizards doing? Yeah, I mean, we say that every like 5 seconds as an NBA fan. What are the
It's
Wizards
implied,
doing?
even if you're not saying it.
So we can look at Brad for sure as a guy to talk about, and just I think the conversation there more goes to, okay, if Brad is okay with leaving and decides he wants to play elsewhere, are you willing to include what you need to include in that trade? So you know how you inexplicably split up the 2031 first into 3 different firsts. Are you willing to include one of those and attach it to Bradley, like you just did to get rid of Yusuf Nurkic, by the way? What does that entail in getting rid of him? And that's where you have to sort of decide like cost-benefit analysis. And then, by the way, if you just wait 1 more year, and I know it's easy to say like, oh, just wait 1 more year, but if you wait 1 more year, it becomes an expiring contract.
Yeah, then
and
he's got
by
some value.
you exiting the second apron, we would imagine, and opening up more flexibility, you could pull off different types of trades with that contract. And often the strategy there is, we'll give you this expiring contract, give us 2 bloated contracts and a pick or 2. Like, that's one of the strategies you can do with a contract like that. But further down is where it gets interesting, because if you look at Grayson Allen's 29, Royce O'Neal is 31. They're both under contract for 3 more seasons beyond this year. Grayson has a player option in the 4th year of his deal. He's in the 1st year of his deal. So is Royce. Royce is on an extremely affordable 9.3, 10.1, 10.8, and 11.6 through to his mid-30s. So this is like the last big deal that he's going to get, you imagine. And again, at 31, it's like, I like Royce O'Neal, I like Grayson Allen, I like both of them as players, but what are they going to do for you in the next 2 to 3 years as opposed to what they could do for a contender? Now, the price isn't going to be crazy. Like, maybe you get a late first-round pick, maybe you get a couple seconds for those guys, but then you have to ask yourself, like, what are the roles they play on your team? And more so, Luke, I think the thing that I want to, like, shift this conversation to is how you start to change the identity of your roster. Because if they draft a 6'5" wing or a 6'6" wing who's like a little slow, maybe not as like athletic, as I'm going to lose it. Because like that's pretty much this entire roster. I think Brad is a very athletic guy. I think Book is a very athletic guy, but they're just undersized to be wings. Like they need 6'8", 6'9", versatile, hyper athletic wings. Take a look at the other side of the court tonight. You're going to see like 5 of those guys. Because Houston, Oklahoma City, look at all those teams, look at all the versatility, offensively and defensively, that they've built their teams around. That is the future and present of the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. If you're talking about players like that are younger players, aren't you talking about guys like Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro? And
who?
Yeah. I think that's one thing. I mean, if you're really going to start to tear things down or shift things around, you need to play your younger players to see what you have. I'll go back to what you said about Beal. Are you willing to attach one of those first-round picks to him? This is one of those conversations that, you know, if you'd asked me like in college, no, I just want the better player. I'm not attaching a first-round pick to get rid of Bradley Beal for something lesser back. At this point, yes, 100% I would do that. You attached a first-round pick to Nurk because he and the coach didn't get along. I mean, you seriously, you took your first-round pick in 2031 and you split it into 3 lesser ones, and you gave one of those away just because Nurk and the coach didn't get along. Getting rid of Bradley Beal, as much as I do like Beal when he plays, it would open up so many options and make this team just more versatile. And I don't mean on the court, I mean behind the scenes, and they just have none right now. They're so locked in. I mean, honestly, if you could move Beal, I think you have a conversation about keeping Durant at that point. I don't know that they will. Like I said, that ship may have already sailed. But if you went to Bradley Beal at the start of the offseason, he's like, yeah, I get it. I just didn't want to move in the middle of the season, but I see what's going on. Go ahead. And you could pull off a trade. That right there is going to give you some versatility. But I think that's where the conversation has to start. Just so you know if you have that move in your pocket or not.
Yeah, it's just still not going to work, though. I feel like that is another supplementary move where, again, you're talking yourself into, and look.
Moving Beal or keeping Durant?
I truly believe it's a subjective thing, to be clear. Like, for Suns fans who want to see them extend Kevin Durant and see out the entirety of this Kevin Durant, like the rest of Kevin Durant's career ending in Phoenix, for people that want to see that, I understand why. But for 2 years, it has not worked. A Devin Booker, Kevin Durant duo has led to these types of teams. Yeah. And look, there are problems with the roster. I just talked about him for a while there. Like, there's problems with Beal and how much you're paying him and what he's contributing. But I truly do believe that even if you have a better roster around them, which is like this is the entire conversation we had last year, it's still going to lead to similar-ish results in terms of what is plaguing this team ultimately.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think we need to get back into that later, too, because I think there's a deeper conversation there. I'm not saying you have to keep Durant, but I'm saying if you move Beal, then I think you have to take a step back and just kind of at least reassess.
See what your team looks like. What else can you get done? You know, that kind of stuff.
What did it free up?
Have you hired another head coach?
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.